Welcome back, Tribe. Got a recommendation here on email. It's been a while since I watched Psych Hacks. Hopefully he's been doing well. And he's got The Beginning of the End, How Men Lose Power in Relationships. Beautiful.
I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is the beginning of the end.
The end.
So I'm going to be talking today specifically to the men in the audience. Gentlemen, I'm going to help you prevent your relationships from going off the rails. Let's get to it. Now, everybody is different, and every relationship is going to be unique to the individuals involved. But if you've been following my work, you know that, in general, I believe that relationships are more successful and sustainable when the man is the captain and the adored, and when the woman is the passenger and the adorer. If you're unfamiliar with these terms, then you should read my book, The Value of Others, where I go into these concepts in extensive detail. And I believe this because when the man is in this position, he maintains frame. Frame, in this context, is authority vested with power to dictate the terms and structure of the relationship, how it is arranged, how it unfolds, what it entails, who does what are the privileges and responsibilities of each, etc. When men control the frame, relationships have a much better chance of being mutually satisfying and enduring. And regardless of the mixed messages that they give men these days, the vast majority of women still want a guy that they can look up to be the confident leader that initiates and directs the relationship. However, in about 99% of the relationships that I've personally examined, the woman is more powerful than the man, which means that she controls the frame of the relationship. And I think this has to do with why, despite the fact that I've looked at hundreds and hundreds of relationships, I can count the number of relationships that I would consider happy, like relationships that I personally would want to be in, on one hand. And I don't think it's a coincidence that in every one of those relationships, the man was more powerful than the woman.
Yep.
So if relationships are more satisfying and enduring when the man retains frame for both the man and the woman, why is it the case that women so often control it? Now, there are two main ways that this occurs. In the first case, it happens right from the beginning. The man, who may not be a full-fledged captain, cedes control of the relationship to the woman as an enticement to enter into a relationship with him. In the book, I call this the sexual strategy of the ferryboat captain. This is how less attractive men beat out their intrasexual competition. They offer women privileges that their more attractive counterparts wouldn't. Ultimately, the frustration of not getting more of what they want from more attractive men, in combination with the gratification of getting more of what they want, at least in the short term, from less attractive men, can motivate women to enter into relationships with less attractive men, where they can, more or less, dictate terms from the get-go. Whether they're aware of it or not, these men understand that happy wife, happy life is the cost of doing business. However, this is not the only way that women come to control the frame of a relationship. In some cases, the man enters into the relationship as a full-fledged captain, invested with the legitimate authority such a position enjoys by the woman in question. But over time, slowly and insidiously, the balance of power shifts so completely that the man no longer recognizes his own life and can't quite remember how things turned out this way. In point of fact,
Death of 1,000 concessions. That's what it is. You started putting her up on the pedestal because you respect her. You started loving her. You started babying her. You started fucking up and letting her walk all over you. That's how it happens. Guys, this is a slow process. And she will manipulate you into it. Like, she's going to weaponize sex, weaponize affection. She's going to throw tantrums and fits, and she's going to keep testing you and starting fights. And how you respond to all of that is how you die by those 1,000 concessions. Every woman does this. There is no woman who doesn't do this. They unconsciously do this. Not that they're just being bad actors. They unconsciously test you because it's a human being. There's a power struggle naturally. And the only one who wins is always the one who's the more dominant one. Now, if you're truly the dominant one, then all of these tend to naturally roll off your shoulders because of how ridiculous they are. either through outcome independence or abundance mentality or whatever other terminology you want to use. When you're in the powerful position, none of these actually work. Now, the moment you think you can't live without this person is the moment you start to concede on multiple fronts. And the war is eventually lost, where she now holds all the leverage and you get punished for it. This is it. This is normal. This is you, your grandpappy, your great-great-great-great-great-grandpappy, the fucking caveman in you that goes back thousands of lineages, all dealt with this same exact shit. It's just today you've been told to act more like a woman, more equitable in your relationship, and all the other woke terminology that they're using to literally undermine your authority as a man in a relationship with a woman. That's it. That's it, boys. There it is. That's the game.
In fact, most men control the frame at the beginning of the courtship process and lose it through small concessions as the relationship progresses. Consider your first date with your girlfriend or wife. Chances are good that you approached her with a plan. I'd like to take you out. Let's meet at this time, at this place, on this day, and this is what I'd like the two of us to do. And that she agreed to that plan. You created an experience for her to enter into. That's frame. It's very unlikely that you would have been able to secure that opportunity without creating such an experience. And it's even less likely that she went through the trouble of creating an experience for you to enter into. So most relationships begin with the man in charge. And just so we say the quiet part out loud, that's why the woman's there. Women reward men who use frame to create an experience for them to enter into. They do not chase down men who don't or won't do this. This is important to keep in mind throughout the duration of the relationship, as men will be tempted to surrender frame in a variety of ways over time.
Yep.
This temptation occurs in two primary ways.
I love this. He's a trained psychologist. I'm just the dude who slept with too many women. And we're arriving at the same points naturally. I watch these blind. I don't actually look before. I look at the title, boys. So, because I want it to be genuine, and I blow my fucking brains out and have to rewatch it 2 times over to formulate an idea. It's just raw, straight off the top.
Sometimes it's the temptation to escape an uncomfortable emotional situation created by the woman in a bid for more power and control.
Yep, there it is.
As I discussed in the Easter egg hunt, these bids typically follow the PSA system of emotional manipulation, or pity, shame, anger, PSA. No matter the particular thumbscrew, the woman applies emotional pressure on the man, who then cedes frame as a way of buying his way out of a difficult dynamic.
Yep.
As I discussed in the book, in its extreme manifestation, this takes the form of an attempted hijacking, in which the woman threatens to leave or divorce if her demands are not met.
Mutiny on the ship.
However, the temptation to surrender frame doesn't always come from the outside. Many, if not most men, seduce themselves into doing so. However, this is only possible if the man becomes emotionally invested, which induces a distortion in his thinking, typically by activating his latent romanticism.
Yep.
This romanticism, in turn, either motivates him to sacrifice more and more of his life for his one and only, or tempts him into the ideal of equal partnership. This might sound surprising, but as I've discussed previously, partnership is the most prevalent male romantic ideal in our culture today.
Yep.
This might sound appealing in the abstract, and many might disagree with their words, but most women don't want to be either pedestalized or partnered. Think back to what I said just a few moments ago about the early stages of courtship. The woman is there.
In a strong contrast with the video we did a day ago on house husbands. Remember the house husbands?
Because the man created an experience for them to enter into. Most likely, the experience did not occur at her convenience, which is what would be necessary if being pedestalized was preferred, nor did it occur as the result of some collaborative process, which is what would be necessary if partnership were preferred. It occurred because the man invited the woman into an experience that he created using his power, autonomy, creativity, and resources. Women teach men that this works by responding positively to this structure, and men deviate from what works at their own risk.
Mhm.
So how exactly does this happen?
I think you could call this betification, whatever you want to call it. Like they beat you. You start off as an alpha in her eyes and they beat you into a beta. You could really call it that for lack of better terminology. And that's how your value drains in your relationship over time. That's literally what you have to resist. Every single relationship that you've had that has failed, you were betified in some way by your woman. You conceded multiple fronts. That's all. That's all it was. Once you understand that you don't need red pill rage, you don't have to be mad and bitter at women. You just have to understand, I fucked up. I let her in. I put her up on a pedestal. I conceded on too many fronts. I lost my identity. I sacrificed my self-respect. When you realize this, bro, the game gets so easy. What you're really going to find out that you need to do is become more greedy. Put yourself first, your hobbies first. Your life mission is always going to be before her. Once you understand these simple little pillars, every other woman you deal with from here on out, it's so easy. It's on easy mode. Literally, it's on easy mode. Because the woman, the moment they try to do the power play and the tug of war for dominance in the relationship, either they get frustrated that you don't budge because you have your mission, your self-respect, your identity, and your boundaries, and there's consequences for crossing them. So they bail out immediately, which helps you, or they fall in line. They did their test. They see you're the real deal. They then submit. It's that simple, bro. It's literally that simple. I've been tested by my wife. Spectacularly passed. It blew up in her face. I've been tested by every single woman I've ever dated. Guys, this happens to David fucking Beckham. Mike Tyson. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be the baddest man on the planet. You could be 7'7" tall with 20 pack abs and fucking $1 trillion gajillion in the bank account. Your woman will test you. It's irrelevant. There is no point at which you get to where you escape this. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. There's this mentality in the manosphere that you can out-alpha all the tests. Your woman will always test you subconsciously. It is female nature. There's not a point at which you arrive where the testing ends, ever. It's just that once you get to a certain level as a man, like I said earlier, you don't even notice the test because they roll off of you. Because you are the guy. You don't need to think about power struggles because they seem so ridiculous. You're a type A high performance motherfucker making a ton of money. You look good. You take care of your body. It would be a complete joke. The power dynamic, the scaling and power differences between you and your woman are so fucking twisted in the opposite direction where you have so much power through being the real kind of man you're supposed to be that all her advances are like, it's like a little flea trying to knock you off your balance. It's a joke, bro. They don't register. And that's what keeps her happy because she knows she's got a prize of a man. And that's what keeps you happy because your woman submits fully. That's really what it is. When you start off a relationship, you're up here, she's down here. And then it's slowly through time, just like this, thousands of those concessions. And once you get here, it's where the real problems start because your leverage just disappeared. And then she begins to get so much, and it happens quickly. Once the equalization happens in power, it's a dramatic explosion in hers versus your downfall. Dude, and it happens to all of us. This isn't fucking like, you shouldn't feel bad that you had relationships blow up or that women have walked all over you or you're a beta or you simped at one point. Everybody does. It's fine. It's normal. Even the guys you respect the most that you think are the pinnacle of what a man is in his private relationship with his wife, he did the same shit. This is just internally built into us to want to protect, to want to provide, to want to equalize the power we have with our woman. But you're the fucking king in your castle, bro. And there is never going to be a replacement for you. You are the most powerful piece. Always remember that. The queen is never above the king.
I'm going to describe the moment when the man begins to cede frame to the woman so that you can recognize it and respond to it appropriately. I call this moment the beginning of the end because failing to respond appropriately puts the relationship on a slippery slope toward dissolution, or worse, an expensive, unsatisfying marriage. This occurs when A, the man is sufficiently emotionally invested, and B, the woman, directly or indirectly, wants something from the man that he authentically doesn't want to give. The request could be big, let's get married, let's move in together, or small, let's go antiquing on Sunday. Let's go to brunch with all my couple friends. But in general, the requests start small and escalate over time. Now, if the man weren't emotionally invested, this wouldn't be a problem. He would just say no. Because, as I talk about in Women Are a Roll of the Dice, he isn't gambling with more than he can afford to lose. However, once he crosses a certain point, he comes to believe that he can no longer say no, even though he would like to, because he fears the consequences of doing so.
Walking away.
He fears the discomfort that will arise in himself in seeing his woman angry or disappointed. He fears the pain that he would experience were she to leave him.
Mm-hmm.
Once that fear takes hold, which is the consequence of his overinvestment, he is no longer a free man, and he increasingly abandons his authenticity in favor of emotional defensiveness. He's trying to protect himself. The issue, of course, is that this doesn't work. That fear is a liar. It lies. It only takes like 10 seconds to see through the lie. Namely, if you actually needed to give a woman certain things that you don't authentically want to give in order to prevent her from leaving, then she would have left by now. You haven't given her those things in the past, and you've gotten this far. You've abided in your authenticity, and she was attracted to you because of it. So on some level, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, man. There's no evidence that not doing something you feel conflicted about will threaten the basis of the relationship, and a lot of evidence that doing what you authentically want to do will secure the levels of success and stability that you've enjoyed up until now. So that's how the fear lies. Just like the initial stages of courtship, it's generally a much better idea for men to maintain frame over the course of the relationship. This is what I'll do, this is what I won't do, and allowing the woman to either opt in or out as she so chooses. Of course, not getting what they want in the short term can be frustrating and disappointing to a woman, and that's okay. That's okay. She's entitled to her feelings, and you don't have to make her feel differently. Let her feel how she's going to feel. It's not going to kill her, and it won't kill you to let her experience her emotions. She's an adult. She can handle her feelings. You do not need to make her feel better, and you do not need to give her what she wants just to avoid this experience. That said, there may always be a pull in men to do one or the other. However, I bring this up because it is so much easier to resist these emotional impulses when they first present themselves. As difficult as it may be, it is always better to fight these battles when they are still small. Because they will only get bigger and more difficult to win with reinforcement. We don't like to talk about it, but being in a position of power often means that you have to deny and reject others. Consider a professional relationship between an employer and an employee. Can you imagine a company in which the employees were allowed to dictate their own compensation packages? Since everyone pretty much believes they deserve more than they receive, it's very likely that that strategy would make that company insolvent very quickly. And then everyone would be out of a job, including the employer. Whether employees are aware of it or not, their continued employment often depends on their not getting what they want. Of course, this is a balance. Give people everything that they want, and you threaten the basis of the relationship. It becomes insolvent. However, give people too little of what they want, and they protest and leave. That said, while the second option is potentially inconvenient, it should be preferred to the first, as it doesn't also result in the destruction of the company. So it's better to err on the side of giving too little than too much. In general, the price of getting most of what you want is the willingness to forego getting everything that you want. Remember, a woman who sees you as her best option is not going to leave her when you tell her no.
There you go. Right there. You see that short sentence? That's what it is. This guy says 100%. My wife and I have been married 25 years. We had a rough time between years 15 to 22 or so. I listened to these clips by Ryan and others and learned about not being a simp and not letting her letting her be disappointed sometimes. It was hard because I had to really accept if it was the end of the marriage. You see the walking away thing? Once I accepted it and I grew a spine and reasserted my frame, and indeed, the last 2 years have truly been the best of our 28 years together. This is an extremely important message for men to hear. You see, and this is another one. The problem is men don't know how leverage works. They keep thinking love and being a good man is enough, and it's not, and it never was. Another great nugget right here. Relationships require for a man to love while simultaneously playing chess, positively leading and continually creating opportunities that caters to a woman's emotional needs. That's not true. You don't need to cater to a woman's emotional need. That's false. What you need to do is what Orion said, and that's be able to say no. When they're having a tantrum, say no. Enforce boundaries and consequences for crossing lines. That's what you need. You don't cater to your woman. She caters to you. Another reason why men often lose their frame is because they always fold to a woman's ultimatums when it comes to sex. Some guys are so desperate they have no choice but to do that or do what wifey says in order to regain bedroom time. Yep. Not only does this emasculate the man over time, and again, concessions. She uses sex as a weapon and you cave. The party that cares the least in a relationship has the leverage. There you go. My man understands. Yep, very smart guy. I noticed this with my personal experience. I never had trouble getting women, but I noticed when I didn't really give a shit, I got whatever I wanted. But sometimes I would lose frame when I liked a particular woman too much, resulting in me not getting her. There's a realization that the more you like someone, the more important it is to stay true to yourself and never bend the knee, because you will end up losing both the girl and your frame. Facts. There it is, man. It's all real. And it's okay if you're learning this shit. And it's okay. Some of you had to have your entire relationships burned down to come to this point. It's fine. Don't beat yourself up. Just recompose yourself and fucking keep on trucking, bro. You're a man. Don't need to be down in dumpsters or like irrationally angry at women in general for what the fuck happened to you. Fix it. Move forward with the next one. Live your life. As usual, boys, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thoughts on this episode and the topic, some of the crazy shit I've said. And as usual, we'll see you on the next one. Take care, boys.